Don't you wait to come back. 'Cause I've been gone a long time, and you never knew. You buried the house, how it all went down so long ago. You can't see it starting over again. And all along we know it's wrong, but we're not quite set in behind. Tell me if you're awake. Can I talk to you again? Tell me was it mistakes that have made us only friends? Now I notice how you don't stay anyways. Don't you wait, don't you wait. Don't you wait, don't you wait. Don't you wait, falls apart and yet still we start, 'cause we're not quite set in behind. Tell me if you're awake. Can I talk to you again? Tell me was it mistakes that have made us only friends? Now I know it's how you don't stay. All along we know it's wrong. Love's not DOA.
Hello, Susan.
Hi, Larry. How's it going?
Not too bad. Let's see. Murphak is not in on this.
Yeah.
It turned out he was just away from his computer and not checking his email. He's here.
Oh. Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Let's see.
I see you're on Twitch already.
Yep.
Hi Larry, hi Susan.
Hi, Murphak. How are you?
Alright, well.
Good. Where are we going today? Oh, I better send out my cattle call.
We can dress
continuing the Bahro cave tours today?
Yeah, we'll be doing the last. We'll be doing the last cave, and after that we go off into uncharted territory.
Yes, the thing that you showed me that I'm not gonna spoil.
Oh, you can't spoil the whole thing because I've got something extra special planned for that one. Remember?
Yes. I have to keep our group in suspense. Oh, I misspelled browser. I thought I fixed it.
Bro swear?
Well, I thought I hit the backspace key to fix it, but apparently not. I turned 62 years of age yesterday, so, if my brain cells aren't functioning, that's my excuse.
Well,
not that they ever were.
I now know you're younger than I am.
Well, if that's true, I will always be younger, so that's comforting.
Happy birthday, youngster.
Oh, thank you, cave woman.
Happy birthday, youngster.
There isn't a requirement that you be geriatric to enjoy Myst, but it helps. When I see pictures of people in real life instead of their avatars on Facebook.
Your mic's cutting in out a little bit. And can everyone hear Larry okay? He's a little soft through Skype, the voice.
Oh, I had turned down the volume on my mic. How's that?
Well, I'm going to be able to hear you better than the group.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I was saying that when I get on Facebook, when I see pictures of the people behind the avatars, the surprise is not to see that they're older. It's to see. I get surprised when they actually have their original hair color. I hope you're talking about the men, Creek Rider. Yeah, I have a friend who comes over every Sunday, and that poor kid is in his 20s, I think, and he has less hair than I do.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Of course, we can't compare that because you wear a pith helmet.
It's still there. But let's just say that I have a lot less trouble keeping it out of my eyes than I used to. Let's see, what am I doing? Oh yeah, that's right. I'm supposed to be getting ready.
When Murphac mutters to himself, that's always a good sign.
When I first logged in, Stone was actually on.
Really?
Yeah, so I thought I figured that he and Murphac were talking over what Murphac's going to be doing today.
Oh, okay.
Could be wrong about that, but I can't think of any other reason why I might have seen Stone.
Yeah. Is Stone gonna come to the tour?
No, he's already gone.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Hello, Mina.
Okay.
Oh, Marabot's not online yet, but obviously Murphac knows that. Yes, Stone was the our bot operator, technical specialist,
Gray Hat.
gray hat. What? How many years ago? 3 years ago was the last tour.
Well, he was always on the late night tour, which was really, really early in the morning for Europe. But it was basically a good. It was a good hour for people who lived on the Australia, Japan. That's that part of the world, and it wasn't horrible for people on the U.S. West Coast. But that,
Yeah, we had a.
yeah,
Was it a Friday night or a Saturday? I don't
Friday
remember.
night.
Yeah, I used to go the Friday night, and then you ran them on Sundays, I think.
No, Saturday. It was always on Saturday. I'm busy on
Oh,
Sundays.
Saturdays?
Yeah.
It was around, I think, 1300.
And that. So Stone was the original Gray Hat for the Cavern Tours. In fact, he was with them longer than I was.
Oh, okay.
Because I believe they were the tour started up 1 year before I joined the team.
Okay. I see we have a newcomer. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Bagatti? Spaghetti. Welcome to the tours. Oh, I better log into Twitch myself. Shrosh Armenius.
26 people watching on Twitch now.
Sorry?
Is that 26 on Twitch now?
Oh, I'm not logged in yet.
Oh.
I have to wait for my code.
By the way, today is going to be another unusual day. Because we only have one area left to cover from last week, after we've finished up the Bahro cave tour, I've got one thing planned for you, and then if we have any time left over, I'm going to be asking for what you might like to see next. But today is going to be special because I've got something I don't think any of us ever thought we'd ever be able to see lined up. Oh. I just realized I'm not seeing my chat window for the stream.
Oh, your key chat.
Yeah. No, my
Twitch is on, displaying on Twitch. The Twitch chat.
yeah,
Chat. Well, that's because
That's off
you
to-
have a splash screen on.
no, it's not that. It's that I have a different window that should have been up for it, and I'm not quite sure where it's hiding. Because that's... You know, the two extra windows that I have are neither one of them are the one for the restream chat. So I'm only seeing that in the window.
That looks like it's artwork, design artwork for fog anime.
No, it's water anime.
Is it water?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at the picture, you can see the trees, and also you can see water going into the pool,
Oh, right. It's a waterfall.
but it's much rockier and rougher than the one that actually made it into the game. And I was just
Yes.
thinking, if you're swimming and get swept into that, that's a major ouch moment.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Yoda's here. Hi.
Still waiting for the bot.
Yes, it looks like the bot. We're waiting for the bot.
Okay. Go.
Murphy, are you going to be acting as the bot today? If so, we need to buddy you.
I will start.
Okay, thank you.
Murphac is starting the bot now, so it'll be along in a moment.
My goodness, suddenly we have quite a healthy crowd. Woohoo!
34 views on the stream. Okay, I guess it's time to start talking, Susan.
Time to, well, that's what I've been doing. Okay. But yeah, I know what you mean. I'm just being a smart aleck. Welcome everyone to the Cavern Tour. We are a year and a half into this series of Cavern Tours. Today we are going to be resuming our tour of the Bahro Caves. This is the one with the pictograms on the wall, the Pellet Cave. And please make sure you've buddied Marrowbot. If there's someone who has not buddied Marrowbot, please indicate in the chat, and I'll give you instructions, which I just gave, and I'll give those again. And when Larry's ready to port over there, what we'll be doing is PMing the word link, LINK, to Marrowbot. And also during Larry's speech, he does take breaks from time to time to answer questions. You can go ahead and type your questions though in the window, and I'll monitor those. And Larry is just full of brimming with knowledge, and as he alluded to before, he has sort of a special extra information to give you once we're done with the tour.
Okay. Actually, we already did the cave with the pictographs, so that one's not on the agenda today.
Okay.
We're just doing the final cave, which is the one that you go to get the Relto wedges.
Oh, okay. Great.
And then so answering Attaboy's question, yeah, that's going to be cramped. But so what you'll want to do is, as soon as we get there, find yourself a space up next to a wall, and then sit down, and that'll help with lag.
Alrighty. So with that said, are we ready to link to Mirobot? Let's see if he's online.
Yes, he is.
And is he in position?
He should be.
Let me make sure. I don't want us to link to some weird place.
Yeah, he's fine.
He's waiting for
Uh-huh.
He's waiting for us. Okay, let's all bring him cookies and coffee. Everyone PM link to Mirobot, please.
And I just didn't go anywhere. Okay, the second time I tried it, I used the word meat and got through. Okay, yeah, we're all here. We're getting here.
Alright, just 2 more bodies to go. I'd say you can go ahead and get started, Larry.
Okay. Be with you in just a moment after I get myself back on Age Player, which is always a challenge when there's this many people. Okay. So, last month we covered the Bahro caves in the Cleft and the Hourglass cave, whose location we don't know. This final Bahro cave, which we will be covering today, we do know the location of, in theory. However, we don't know where it is in practical terms. That's because we are above a residential cavern called Radina. Radina was one of 4 major caverns that the Denis lived and worked in, as well as a whole bunch of smaller ones that they found wherever they could. In fact, searching for more living space was a project that kept them occupied from the day, practically from the day that they arrived on Earth, all the way up until the fall of Denis. The 4 caverns the largest caverns were Denis, Radina, Isha, and Rolep. This particular cave, which is situated in up above the cavern in its roof, was created for Isha's quests, and there are many instances of this same cave. Its main role was to house pillars that were used in her first plan to free Bahro from their bondage to the Denis Empire. The cave is located in the center of the roof of Rudena. Or excuse me, I'm sorry, I got one of the names wrong. It's not Isha, it's Urat. In any case, there are two primary versions of this cave. The first one is the one with the pillars, and then there is a second type which contains wedges and no pillars. The pillar instance of the cave features 4 rock plates arranged in a circular pattern that can slide out of the wall. Between the plates, there's a hole that opens into what appears to be the starry expanse that was seen in the star fissure of Riven. The cave is accessed via the journey doors in Garisen, Teladon, Kadesh Talessa, and Ederkimo. Each door links into one of the 4 sides of the cave, at which time the corresponding plate extends to make room for the explorer to stand on. On each platform, there was a pillar corresponding to the age, along with the viewer symbol. There are also 2 touchable symbols on the cave wall. The first symbol is a hand symbol used to transport the pillar, and the second one is a Bahro glyph of Yisha, which holds a recording of a speech she wrote about the corresponding age. Floating over the abyss below the cave are 4 wedges, one for each pillar and leg of the journey. When you first enter the cave, the lamps illuminate it with a blue light. When all 4 pillars have been brought to Relto, the illumination changes to yellow-orange. And we are currently in one of the wedge caves, and there are 4 instances of this one. They hold sections of stone rings that are floating over the central hole, but without the pillars of the first instance of the cave. The rings are popularly called wedges, although if they have an official name, I don't know it. They are accessed from journey doors in Ederdelin and Edertzogl, and from floating glyphs in the museum pods Minkata, Urkana, and Anone. The wedge caves are illuminated in violet and have a rock platform plates for each wedge, which retract again after linking out. On the cave wall is a symbol for each platform, which is the symbol of whichever quest you are undertaking. Each wedge is covered in symbols embossed with what appears to be gold leaf, and they have the symbol of the quest you were on when you first received them. If you've never taken a close look at the wedges floating over the well in your Relto, I encourage you to go and take a look at them sometime. It's well worth doing. As for, let's see, I should be able to... Okay, I want to go to...
Mirfac probably has a false floor, but I don't know how far down it is.
Okay. Anyway, do we have any questions about what I've talked about at this point?
Well, someone asked early on what the spiral does, but I think you answered that, and Ro is asking if we can tell the difference between each wedge, which I don't think we can.
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
Oh,
you cannot tell the difference, for instance, with the wedge that we have here. That is, let's see, that's 2 wedges, which is Ederdelin and Edertzogl. So if you look on the side of the wedges, the top and the bottom just have a book symbol that was associated with Yisha, but the sides contain the symbol of the journey that you're on. And you can see that this is the one for the Garden Ages. By that sign, it's in the center of the wedge. So if you look at the wedges in your Relto, once you've collected them all, the number of wedges is one clue as to which journey they came from. But mostly it's the fact that on their side, they're going to have the symbol of that particular journey.
Somebody jumped in the hole and fell through. Sorry,
Well, those pillars are a bit farther down than he was thinking they were.
I think Murphy played a practical joke. He put JLAC columns. Anyway.
Jalak.
I need to be quiet.
Yeah. Okay.
Jalak?
Yeah, Jalak. Okay, anyway, let's see. Any other questions?
Well, Jamie's asking if the Denny suffered from overpopulation.
No, that's fine. I was talking about it anyway. And I wouldn't say that they were overpopulated. It's kind of hard to be overpopulated when you have an empire that covers hundreds of worlds in hundreds of different instances of the universe. But because the Denis always preferred living in the cavern over living in one of the ages, or usually preferred it, I should say, there was always population pressure. So, as I mentioned earlier, the search for more living space was a priority that occupied them right up until the very end.
And then the Pinto plague helped out, so to speak.
Well, that's a whole different story, and we actually will be covering that because at some point I plan on talking about the age of Pinto. What little we know about it. Which is more than we did before, thanks to a recent release of information by Cyan. Okay, now did we have any other questions that I missed?
Nope, I didn't see any.
Okay. Then the next thing that I wanted to do today is show you Redena. Let's see if we can manage that. That's because that's going to be up to whatever Murphat can pull off. I was hoping to get you down to lake level in the cavern, but that's an extremely hard job to do. Shiloh is saying, kind of like the Numenor in the Silmarillion, who wanted to live on their home island in spite of having a large empire. And the answer to that is, it was probably for similar reasons. Living in the cavern was considered higher status than living anywhere else, no matter how bad your living conditions in the cavern might have been. But that's kind of a general rule. There were other Denis who actually did prefer living outside of the caverns in their own ages. There was a woman named Nala who lived in the age of Kalamee, and she not only preferred living there, she was quite jealous of anyone coming in and trying to assert any kind of control over her age. which meant that she had a rather rocky relationship with the Guild of Maintainers. Whenever they showed up, she got extremely defensive.
Does Cyan have any formal name for each of these caves? I know you referred to them as the Wedge Caves.
There are no actual names for any of these caves. They got basically all the names that I use them by are ones that I prefer. I simply call them by their location. In the case of this one in Ravenna, or the one in the Cleft, and then I call the Hourglass Cave. Actually, I believe that the more proper term for that is Pellet Cave, but I call it that because of its shape. Attaboy asked, did the Denis ever try to colonize an age? And the answer to that is yes and no. The Denis, as I mentioned, preferred to live in the cavern for the most part and always maintain residences there. But that's not to say that they didn't live in various ages for extended lengths of time. Very often that would be because of a job that they had. Another reason why they might do that is because they maintain what you might think of as a summer home there. And this cavern is Ravenna, which is spelled like this. Relishan was an age written for the Denis survivors of the fall by Atris, specifically as a new home for them. They had been searching for a place to move to ever since they finally gave up trying to restore Denis. And at one point they considered moving to Turani along with the rest of the Rhone people who had escaped from Garternay, their homeworld. However, that turned out to be a bust for many reasons, and instead of searching for an existing home, Atris decided that it would just be simpler and more efficient if he created one for them. Okay, Murphak, are you ready for us to go down?
James Cave.
Go ahead and take us as soon as you're ready. Anyway, let's see. And the answer to Attaboy's question, Turani. Yeah, there was a linking book to Turani. When all of the peoples, well, when the people of the Rhone people were escaping from Garternay because it was dying, the majority of them went to Turani, but there were a whole bunch of splinter groups like the Denis who decided that was a chance for them to go somewhere else and form whatever their idea of a perfect society would be. And all of those splinter groups were given books to Turani in case things didn't work out for them. And so that Denis very definitely had a book for Turani. However, I had mentioned this in a previous lecture, but when Actually, I may not have, but I dealt with the information recently, so that's why I might have thought that. Anyway, when the Pinto War ended, oh goodness, my mind's going blank on the name of that king, and I got his picture, his painting in my head.
Is it the one with the pointy head? The pointy hat?
No, that was Kurth. No, the one that was called the Great King.
It starts with an A? Alcindar?
Yeah, Alcindar. Thank you. When Alcindar ended the Pinto War by basically wiping out the Pinto people with an artificially created plague, after a couple of years of living with the guilt, he decided to have himself sealed into the tomb of the Great King, which is under the Guild Hall, along with all of the linking books that had been infected by the plague. And when he did so, he also took the book to Tyranny and to other ages that had been settled by other splinter groups into the tomb with him to be sealed. He basically was of the opinion that looking at the past was no longer a realistic option for the Dini people, and that they should continue to develop their own way. So that book remained sealed in the tomb until the DRC finally discovered it. Or excuse me, not the DRC, I mean Atris. And his helpers, the Avaranese, finally discovered it.
Where's your coffee mug, Larry?
The one I've been sipping from all this time?
Oh, I've been watching the Cavern, not Twitch. I'm gonna go AFK for a bit to get some for myself.
Cameo, you are correct in that Jolatha unsealed the tomb and re-released the plague, and she released a mutated form that was able to infect the Dini people, whereas the original version had not been had been tailored not to. But she did not. But when she unsealed the tomb, she was after some very specific books, and the one for Tyranny, I don't even know if she knew about it. So that book remains sealed. By the way, we don't know which books in particular it was that Jolatha was being all greedy for, but it wasn't it wasn't Tyranny. Actually, for many years it did. The Dini probably lost upwards of 80 to 90% of their total population to the Pinto Plague. And what had happened is that so many people initially died so quickly that they didn't have basically all the healers who knew about the development of the plague were among the dead. And they also lost knowledge of where a lot of their the books of the Guild of Healers were being stored. Alcindar, excuse me, not Alcindar, but a later king Let's go ahead and let me back up a second. When Alcindar died, his successor was not a very good king. He was quite indecisive. But the one thing that he did do was that he blamed the Guild of Healers for not doing their jobs properly and therefore letting the people of Denis die. He made the healers his scapegoat. And as a result, he forbade them access to certain key books which they could have used for research into finding out how to end the plague. So when he died, his successor, who had been a member of the Guild of Healers, immediately opened access to those books, and his future wife was the one who was able to find hints in those books for the one book that the Denis healers who had developed the plague had kept their notes in. And that way, her name was Lalin, and thanks to her, they found the Book of Bereni, which was the one that had all the notes, and were able to come up with a cure for the plague. But that took actually a couple of something like 2 generations, and during that time, as I said, the population of Denis plummeted, not just from the diseases directly, but also because people who caught the disease, even if they survived it, wound up with an extreme loss in fertility, so not very many children were being born. That's completely unknown. However, what we do know about the plague that Agaeres and Vovis released is that it wasn't just plague, it was a mixture of a biological agent with poison gas. The biological agent made people sick and they died over the long term, and it was also communicable, which meant that people fleeing to other ages would spread it. But most of the initial deaths from their attack were due to poison gas. Okay, it looks like Murphak is having a bit of problems. So, while we're waiting for him to get himself sorted out, I'm going to go ahead and get us started on the second thing that I would like to cover today. I had mentioned that I had something special lined up for you. Just in the last month or so, Cyan released documents and models related to what they called intangibles, which were the ages that were planned and that were in the development phase, or at least in the initial planning stage, but never released. One of those ages, of course, was Kahlo, and I did mention that in a previous tour, but at that time, the intangibles documents had not yet been released. So now I am able to tell you about the age of Kahlo in much greater detail with actual information from Cyan. I will, of course, be doing this, referring to this on the stream, So you'll want to have that window open so that we can you can follow along when I bring up pictures. To begin with, according to at least one source, Kahlo may have been written in the Denis year 8343 by a young writer named Jamin. And by the way, I do not want to hear any weeby Jamin jokes, other than my own.
You beat yourself to it. That makes sense.
Regardless of who actually wrote it, the age became the home of a popular Denis sport. The sport was so popular that Denis pubs were often devoted to it, such as the Kahlo pub found in Tokata 2 on Agara Island. The pubs had viewers that showed still images of the games and, according to at least one document, sometimes live broadcasts of games in progress. It's never said if the Denis placed wagers on the games, but people being people, I wouldn't be surprised if they had. The DRC found a Kahlo linking book fairly early on in their attempt to restore Denis, and it was in Phase 4 by the year 2003. However, it was suspended in that year due to the DRC's usual reasons: a lack of money and manpower to continue the work. It remained in suspended status until the DRC had to leave the caverns in 2004. When they returned in 2006 after securing a new source of funding, they went back to the age, but after a short time there, they again suspended the work on the order of Dr. Ikuro Kodama and Michael Ingberg before it was able to reach Phase 5. The age of Kahlo was set in what was described as a rough wasteland that was subject to winds which were said to reach speeds upwards of 200 miles an hour at times. Most of the life of the age was found in narrow canyons and depressions that provided shelter from the worst of the gales. And let's see, I want to open up my window here. Tours, Kahlo. Okay. Let's see. Desktop, audio. Is off. No. What you're hearing right now, I hope, is what the wind sounds like in the upper sections of the age. Whereas down in the depressions, let's see, it sounded more like this. The game field that the Denis played their sport on was established in a depression that seems to have once been the body of a gigantic animal of some kind. It was probably buried in magma since the area is still volcanically active and produces geysers. When the body of the animal decayed, the rock covering it collapsed, forming a large hollow, and in that hollow, 2 seed pot plants took root. Let me go ahead and Okay, in the stream window, I've brought up an overview of what the depression that the game was played in looks like. Let's see. And then I mentioned that there were geysers, which sounded like this. And another one made this noise. The second one was a lot more energetic than the first. One of the more notable features of Kahlo were the bones of the animals that are found there. They grew so large that even the largest of Earth's dinosaurs would have appeared to be dwarfs beside them. Those bones are found scattered all across the landscape, as you can see in the picture that I have up. It was unlikely that Kahlo was ever the home of a native human race, but there was a species of flying creature there that might have been at least as intelligent as Earth's dolphins and porpoises. The creatures were social, living communally in a large structure the DRC called the Hive. And let me get a picture of that up for you. There we go. The creatures were named Kamkinta by the Denis Zoological Society. As their website is now gone, I don't know why that name was chosen. The hive was a multi-story structure suspended among the pelvic bones of one of the giant creatures, and the Kamkinta entered it by flying up into a hole in the bottom. It's basically divided into two main parts. A lower section, which is where most of the Kamkinta were, and an upper section where their queen was found. Let me show you a close-up picture. Here we go. Unfortunately, the interior of the hive was never modeled, so the exterior is the only thing that I can show you in these pictures. However, there is a sketch of what it would have looked like. There we go. Sorry about the small size, but that's the only way I can show the whole thing to you. But I will zoom in. And go down here, where you can see several of the Kamkinta down near the entrance hole, where they're ready to drop down and fly. the Kamkinta. Okay, there's a picture of one. These are the animals that were seen in Ederkimo in the rock art near the journey door. Which... I'm gonna need to it's a little hard to make out. Let's see if I have a different one. Yeah, this one's a lot better. There we go. That's much easier to see. So this was the Bahro's depiction of Denis riders on riding Kamkinta to play the game. Also, in the museum Potage, there's a freshwater ray that looks somewhat similar to the Kamkinta, so the Denis Zoological Society gave them the same name. And that, let's see, browse. And that's these...
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I probably have what is a stupid question that you've probably already answered. What were the Bahro doing in Kahlo?
Nothing. As far as I know, the Bahro never went here.
So how you said that the Bahro were the ones who drew the glyphs in Ederkimo of the Kamkinta. Is that because they were viewed over imagers here in Dunny?
They were, yeah, it was by the time of the fall of Denis, it was an extremely popular game and was basically all over Denis. You had sports bars devoted to it. So it was seeing this is basically like seeing football games and what we would call soccer being shown all over Europe, or American football over here.
I have a funny thought. I'm picturing the Star Wars scene of the tavern with the Bahro sitting at the tables drinking beer along with the Dunny, watching sports.
Probably would have been better than some of the monsters they came up with for that scene. Okay. It's unknown whether or not there's more than one Kamkinta hive. It's likely that there's more, but the only one we know about is the one that's found in the age. The hive does have a queen, And she looked like this. Her body is actually just above the pedestal. And then she has a pair of very large wings that look somewhat like a butterfly. However, they did make sketches to show, to give a better idea as to what she actually looked like. And I noticed a comment, why do the animals always look so different? And the answer to that one is that this takes place across entire universes in which pretty much anything is possible. So, in some cases, animals look like the ones on Earth. In other cases, they don't. It's not known if the queen had a major role in procreation, although it's possible, and perhaps even likely. However, we do know that the other Kamkinta had genders and were differentiated by color. I showed you earlier one that was yellow, and there is also what? Let's cancel. There we go. And then there's also, they also came in blue. The documentation also mentioned the color red. However, there's no depiction of a red Kamkinta. They don't. It's not mentioned clearly which color is which, but it's the coloration apparently was a characteristic of sex. So the females may be the blue ones and the male ones yellow. That made it convenient for the Dini, who could form up teams based on the Kamkinta's colors. The Kamkinta, by the way, were quite talkative and had a large number of vocalizations. And you can actually tell the difference between a male and a female by its tones. To give you an example, this is a female emitting one type of call. And here's the second one. Whereas a male making those same calls would sound like... some other sounds that they might make. Whether or not those sounds are anything approaching actual speech is something that I couldn't say.
Someone's referring back to the photo of the queen, which I
Mhm.
think is the one that looks like the butterfly.
Yeah.
He seems to think it looks like maybe there are some eggs being held in some tentacles, but
That
I
does.
don't.
I saw
I
that
don't
too, but the cat.
see.
Let me. In fact, let me go back and get the line drawing. So yes, you can see that that it does look like it might well be that. I noticed that too, but on the other hand, there are two of them being carried in exactly the same way, so whether or not they actually are eggs or something else is an open question. Say, if we look at the color version again, you'll notice that the down near the pyramid under her, you can see those two things, and they look more like spots of light.
Yeah, they look kind of like pearls, don't they?
And considering that her entire body is bioluminescent, at this point, it's your guess is as good as mine. But it in this picture, at least, it looks like they're part of her body.
Someone's asking if we know how the races worked and the domestication of the Kamkenta. I guess we can.
I'll be
just
talking
speculate
about
the
that.
life
Yeah,
forces or-
I'll be speculating on that in a moment. Once we get a little further on here. Actually, there's no need to show you those pictures, come to think of it. So let's cancel that. Anyway. Now, the Denis, of course, went there to that age for the game. The popular sport involved two opposing teams that rode on Kamkenta back. It's unknown just how intelligent the Kamkenta were, but there are hints that they were partners in the game rather than an animal that the Denis had tamed. The goal of the game was to gather charges of different colors of plasma from vents and geysers scattered throughout the playing field. The opposing team would try to intercept a player carrying a plasma charge, and there were places where there were gusts of wind that would disperse the charge if the player flew through them accidentally. And let me bring up another photo here. Okay. So if you look around in this picture, if you look around, you'll see things on the ground and on top of a rock. And I believe that those are the places where the plasma charges were generated. So a player who was nominated to be the carrier rather than on the defense or offense would have to go to here and pick up a plasma charge, whereupon he would have to get through the obstacles and also pass the opposing offensive player or defensive players in order to get them to the seed pod plants that I had mentioned earlier. There was the Denis divided. The plants were more or less on opposite sides of the depression, and each Denis team would have one of these plants that it would bring its charges to. The team needed to have a specific color of plasma to feed into their plant. The appropriate charges would cause the seed pods on the plants to mature. When one of the seed pods was charged, the seeds were sucked up through the plant stems and expelled violently out of a structure at the top of the plant. And let me bring up a picture. Here we go. So here's a picture of the plant. You'll notice that there's a large hole in its base. That's where the Denis would fly through with their plasma charge, which would then be collected by the tendrils that you see extending into the center. The seed pods are arranged on those tendrils that go upwards to the structure at the top. And for the Kamkinta, that was the reward for playing along with the Denis. The riders were the ones who could gather and carry the plasma charges. The Kamkinta had no way of moving them on their own. Naturally, they had to rely on random chance for a charge to drift to one of the plants naturally. The seeds that the plants discharged were a favorite food of the Kamkinta, and when a plant ejected a batch, they swarmed to catch them as they fell. Not only would they get to eat some of the seeds themselves, they also gathered them to carry back to their hive to feed the queen and young. That made the game mutually beneficial. The Denis were entertained by the sport, and the Kamkinta got the food they loved the most. And now, let's see. Go ahead and close that. And here is the something that I don't know if any of you ever imagined that we would be able to see. This is an alpha test of Kahlo. As you can see, I'm riding a blue Kamkinta, but I could have chosen a yellow one. If I go straight up, oops. Here is the hive. It keeps wanting to fall, so I can't maintain that altitude, but let me try that again. Okay. So over here are the places that I was talking about where the plasma charges would be collected. This is for one or both of the teams, I'm not sure. But they had to collect a specific color of plasma charge. And here's one of the plants. That was the goalpost. So if you had a plasma charge, you would fly through it. And that's how you scored a point. It wasn't just one time. You had to do this several times consecutively in order to feed the seed pods and score a point. Here, let me get out of here for a second. When
Do we know who designed this? Was it Rawa?
No, he wasn't. I don't believe he was involved in this one. Let me see. God, Queen. Oh, wait a minute. Here's a sound I didn't notice before. Queen indigestion. Excuse me. I'm gonna play this one just because. I had never noticed that sound before. Okay. Okay, when you successfully score a goal, a particular sound would play. In fact, let me go ahead and enable no, it is enabled, okay. So that's not the problem. Okay, anyway. So let's explore a little bit more. This area over here is described as a swamp. But there's nothing's mentioned about whatever these things are.
Look like eggs.
Almost, except that they've got.
Oh no, they have.
They've got the plasma things in them. So, presumably that's the area where another team had to collect charges in order to carry back to their plant. And speaking of plants, here's the other one. This was the goal for the second team. So if you've ever wondered what could have been, there you go. So you can try to imagine, if you will, that you and a number of other players are here, basically playing a combination of soccer and or whatever you want to call it, as a kind of battle royale where everyone's trying to do everything at the same time.
Do I have your permission to post a link to your website that has all these photos on it?
Absolutely. That's what it's there for. I do not have film footage of the demo, though, the alpha, on the website, because, for one thing, I had no intention of showing that until I did it here. Oh, there's the sound. In that case, I'm going to do one more thing. Let's find one of those plants. See if I remember correctly, if I go this way. There it is. Now, the one thing that the Denis did was that they rigged the plants so that each one, when a goal was scored, would make a different sound. I don't know if you heard it there, but there was a little fanfare as I rode through. Let's try that again. There we go. And if I go to the other side, where the other plant is... Okay. There it is.
Did you mention what those conical structures are?
Those are indications of wind those are basically artifacts of the age of the modeling. That since this is an alpha, Cyan didn't make them invisible. Basically, they represent updrafts. Okay. So if I fly through this one, let's listen for the tone. So that one's basically the same note progression, but it's up higher up on the scale. Anyway, that's it for now. Oops. Okay. Now, did we have any questions about that little presentation? Jamie said, be nice if Cyan would give this to fans to fix up and put into Moolah. Actually, that's exactly what the intangible release was all about. It was giving fans access to the models and notes that they had at the time they stopped work on it. So it is potentially possible that a fan could eventually make this work. Now, admittedly, a lot of the stuff is too sketchy for anyone to do all that much with it. But they did. But the information is there. Okay. Now, did we ever get things? Murphac, did we ever get things sorted out? Can you take us down now? See, it's 1:15, so we've got 45 minutes left on the clock. By the way, on in my fan site, I believe that Susan said she was going to post a link to it. I have fairly informative articles now based on the intangibles released for a number of fan ages. Let's see. If I go back up here to the top and go to ages. Okay, I've got a little bit more information on the Bahro spiral age. I've got an article on Datamne, I believe. I've got an article on Kalamee, Kahlo, of course, Pinto, Purine, and I'm not sure if I updated my article on Rebek. That can actually be shortened down to that's the short address, so you can just go there and find your own way around.
If I could just confirm my understanding of instancing, This Rudena cave, this is I think in the roof of the cavern, right?
Well, this is a different cavern, and yes, we are in its roof.
Okay, and because you cannot link from from one area in the same instance to another area of the same instance, the reason we're able to get here into the cavern is because we've come from Dalen, we've come from Sogal, we've come from other places that are not in the cavern, right?
That would normally be true, and if we're using Denis books, it is true. However, Yisha and the Bahro did not have that limitation. They could go from one place to another in the same age without having to go outside of the age in order to do so. So you're correct that whenever we come to this cave, we're doing it, well, except in one instance. No, I take that back. The cleft does not link here. So yeah, whenever we come to this particular cave, we're coming from another age. However, that's only because that's where the quests were set up, the journeys. If she had wanted to, we could link here directly from anywhere in the Denis Cavern, because this is done by Yisha and the Bahro. Now, actually, at this point, let me go ahead and get up here and take a little march forward. Okay, we've got, so if I tell the bot, walk 5, okay. I think I see what she did there, Murfak. It looks like Murfak set up a Jalak pillars as a kind of staircase downward. So if you can land on one, which I did not, but over here, you should be able to walk downward.
Well, it gets pretty dark down here.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the cavern. Oh, that's because we're over the starry expanse. We're not in the cavern. So we're in the wrong version of this.
Oh, I guess we want to be in the version. Well, I don't want to give spoilers.
No, we want to be in Redena rather than the expanse.
This is wild. If you end up where you don't want to be, just PM the letter W to Mirobot.
In fact, you want to set up a link so that you're talking to him beforehand. That'll get you back up into the Bahro cave. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you have to do this in first person. Okay. He's going to change the way he has everything arranged, so we're back up in the cave for now. What you're seeing is parts of the Jalak model, which is where he got the pillars from. He imported Jalak in order to have access to the pillars. That was amusing. Oh, that's interesting. What I'm seeing is a kind of overlay of the stars over the cavern.
Should we PM find Larry to the bot?
No, this is what I'm seeing from my point of view. I haven't actually gone anywhere. But if you look at the stream, you'll be able to see what I'm seeing. Assuming you are not seeing it yourself.
Yep, I just got a call stack error. I think that was inevitable.
Please wait.
Well, my connection's hanging in there so far.
I know I should go. I am
In any case, what I had planned on doing once we were done, although this seems to be dragging on a bit, was that I was going to offer to talk to you about one of the other ages that were unreleased as well. However, I don't know if I can do it in a half hour. Well, we'll see. Given it... Now, I know that Pinto would definitely take too long because that one has one heck of a story that goes along with it. But, would you want to hear about one of the other ages, such as, let's see. Yeah, Kalamee and, Purine or, Datamne are all possibilities.
How about the Bahro spiral age?
Well, there's. I mentioned that the amount of information that I was able to add to that was minimal.
Oh, okay.
So there's not an awful lot to add to what I've already said about it in the past.
Okay, there's a cool picture on your website.
Mm-hmm. But there's a picture of the 3D model, but that's the only major change to the website. Let's see. Okay, in that case, give me... Who would like to... given the choice of Datamne, Purine, or Kalamee, which one would you want to hear? Okay, I mentioned Kalamee earlier, so I guess we can go with that one. Kalamee, as I mentioned, was a more or less a private age in which a Denis family had settled. Here, let me... Oh, wait a minute, what am I doing? Back up. Go up. And there we go, Kalamee. Now, where are you, Nala? Here she is. Kalamee was one of the ages that was fortunate enough to survive the fall of Denis because it was more or less isolated from the rest. Very few people ever went there. So the Denis people who already lived in that and worked in that age were safe when from the attack. It's unknown who wrote or owned the Age of Kalamee originally, but what is known is that it was either purchased or given to a Denis family of 3 who moved there before the fall. The Denis husband and wife later died in the Age and were buried there, but their daughter, Nala, was still alive when it was rediscovered by the DRC. The DRC only reached phase 1 of their restoration procedure. In October of 2001, Dr. Watson wrote, "Resources volatile, recommend suspension." And by the way they use that term, resources volatile, likely meant that they didn't have the men, material, and money to continue work, and so the project was suspended. The last note written about the Age was September 30th of 2006, when the DRC voted again as to whether or not they should reinstate the restoration. The vote was 4-0 to keep the suspension in place, although the note said that they would reassess it at a later date. That later date never arrived because the DRC lost funding for a second time and left the caverns for good. Nala, of course, as I mentioned, wasn't the only Denis survivor still living in the Age. There were an unknown number of people employed by the family as workers, and they or their descendants were still there. From the notes, it's probable that the DRC knew that the Age was inhabited. Why they didn't mention Nala or her employees in any of their other documents is a mystery. They mention the existence of Escher and Nolabin as the first Denis survivor they met, although his presence was also kept secret from explorers at the time. I can only guess that they never mentioned Nala for the same reason they kept Escher a secret. It's mentioned that Nala seemed to be suspicious of the DRC and did not talk with them much. Nala had a history that might explain why she didn't warm up to the DRC. She had a similarly dark view of the Guild of Maintainers from before the fall. Apparently, she resented any attempt by outsiders to move in and claim authority over her age. The Maintainers had a policy of closing off ages that had historic ruins to general use, and those ages would be turned over to researchers. She might well have had similar fears regarding the DRC. And that's because Nala was hiding a big secret, and that was that the Age had always had a native population which lived outside of the Age in the world beyond. She kept knowledge of them away from the Maintainers, and did the same when the DRC appeared. However, in her home, she had a telescope that she sometimes used to observe life in a native village that was off in the distance. Okay, let's bring up another picture. Kalamee, there you are. Here we go. When somebody...
Can you excuse me just a second? People are asking how to get back to the cave. There's really not much to do here because the lag is so bad. So I just think we should just be watching Twitch, basically.
Yeah, at this point, everything that I'm talking about is just Twitch. if we get things sorted out in Ravenna to where it's worth coming back here, we'll let you know. In any case, if you look at the stream window, what you're looking at right now is the place where, when you first linked in, that's where you arrived. Say that area is a stone pad for arrivals, which is inside an overhang underneath a waterfall. Let's see if I should have another picture here. No, why on earth? Okay, browse. I got tossed back to the wrong folder. Okay. A little hard to see my pictures right now. I need to change the view. Okay. Let's see, is this it? No, that's the wrong one. Darn it. The pictures folder keeps getting reset. Oh, here we go. This picture is a longer view of the link-in pad, so you can see the waterfall that it's set under. The age of Kalamee appear to be in a forested valley with steep sides and numberous rocky outcrops. A river flowed into the valley from the north and fed a system of freshwater lakes, with the largest lake being at the southern end of the age. It is bordered on the east by a plateau with another river that was very wide and at a higher elevation than the one in the valley. The age featured at least 16 different waterfalls. Scattered throughout the age, there were natural caves that the native people, as well as Nala's family, used for various things. And let me try doing it this way. Browse. Oh, okay, that worked. Okay. This is one of the caves which has native artwork inside of it. The caves were often used for ceremonial purposes. And looking out of that same cave gives us this view of the valley. The age seems to have been conceived as a Denis nature park. and contains a large variety of animals in many sizes. Scattered around the age are feeding troughs and other facilities for animal care. Nala's parents and the Denis workers converted a section of the age into farmland. For that, Nala's father constructed a dam that could be raised and lowered across one of the major watercourses, along with an irrigation system to keep the fields watered. And here we go. In this picture, over on the left-hand side, you can see the dam in the raised position blocking off the river that flowed through that cave. They also constructed stone fences and walls, and they were placed to keep habitats separated and to keep larger animals from harming the food production area. And here's an example of what the fences look like. Naturally, of course, the people there had to live somewhere, and so they constructed various buildings in which they would either live or else or work. Let's see if I should have another. Ah, yes. And here's one of the houses that someone lived in. Kalamee's natives had a religion that included the concept of guardian spirit animals who would guide the souls of the dead into the afterlife. Nala's father adopted that faith before he died and underwent a ritual to find out which spirit animal was his guardian. And this picture I am looking for at the moment. Here it is. That was quick. These effigies that you see in this photograph are of some of the guardian spirits holding the soul of a deceased human. But of course, it was the whole point of the age to begin with were the animals. And this picture here is kind of an overview of various animals that were featured in the age. Now, there was information supplied about some of the animals, but unfortunately, there's no positive links between which pictures are which animals. So I had to make some guesses as to which one might be which based on the descriptions. So let's start out with this little critter right here. This might be an animal that's called a nicander. They're a friendly aquatic mammal that supposedly look like a cross between a dolphin and an otter. Nala actually trained a few of those and made regular visits to the lagoon where they lived to feed them. She taught them to perform tricks for the food as if they were in a show in an animal park. Anyone who swam in the lagoon would find one or two of the Akander swimming around them. They were investigating them for other members of the school. The investigators would periodically leave the swimmer to report to the others, and their vocalizations were easy to hear when they did that. Okay, the next animal is, I believe, this guy here. An ecanthroma is a small animal that looks like a cross between a marmot and a dog. They were very tame and always eager for a handout. They had puppy-like natures and were unintimidating and cute, with a waggly tail and perky faces. They were very fond of a type of nut that grew on local trees and raced to get them any time any fell off of branches. Okay, and then where are you? Here we go. This is one of the most Earth-like of the bunch. Macrothy were monkey-like creatures found in the trees. They fed on purple-colored mishy berries most of the time, but absolutely went crazy when they came across a fruit called plumpicots, which was their favorite. Okay, next. Magandana were large and slow-moving animals with placid natures. They share characteristics with earthly elephants. Nala's parents included a long, tall stone fence, mostly to keep these things out of the fields. The animals could be observed sleeping, grazing on tree leaves, and brushing shoulders with each other. They also frequently called out to each other various sounds. Neekpaark were the sheep equivalent of the age, although they were smaller than earth sheep. However, they made sheep look intelligent by comparison. A note about the age described them as dumb as posts. They were endlessly entertaining to watch. They were always surprised and startled by unexpected stimuli, such as changes in the weather, the appearance of other animals or people, or even another Neekpaark bumping into them from behind. Unsits were tiny skittish birds who lived in flocks on the ground. If anyone strange approached, they would run for cover in the shrubs or vegetation. The reason why they did it is unknown, but Nala and her workers fed them by throwing grain on the ground. The little creatures would run in quickly to snap up the food. After eating, a few of them would follow the worker a while until they realized there was no more food. But Unsids became used to people who fed them and ignored them instead of running away unless they brought more food. Okay. Ra'aneth were birds frequently seen soaring overhead around the age. From time to time, they would dive toward the ground to catch food. As they were described by the DRC as being similar to ospreys, it's most likely that they hunted fish. Taindali were deer-like creatures that grazed in a field to the east of the main pathway through the age. Like earthly deer, they were wary of being approached. Some would always be on guard, and if alerted, would sniff the air, listen, and look around for possible danger. When this happened, the others would continue to graze. If anyone tried to get close, the guard would alert the others, and they'd all run away. And then we have two other notable creatures from the age about which the DRC notes do not have any information, but I'll show you the pictures. One was this turtle-like creature. Here we go. And the other one is this thing. And I haven't the faintest idea of what can they open to get that thing out. Anyway, that's pretty much all of the information that's currently available about Kalamee. And it is 1:57. Do you think you can do anything, Murphek, or are you just about ready to give up as a lost cause?
Well, he's got us on a JLAC platform.
Oh, he does? Okay,
yeah,
I'm not seeing that myself.
Yeah, you can PM find Susan.
Okay, let me try. I've got a weird view, so let's see if I can do that.
Oh, Ro, you're always beautiful.
Okay, actually,
Ageless.
yeah, let me...
Ageless.
I'm kind of stuck in this view, so I'm going to quit the game for a moment and try again. So... log in. Accept. In any case, at this point, though, that's going to conclude the official tour for the day. And I will thank you all very kindly for coming and putting up, of course, with all the usual delays. Post-tour announcements. What's going on today, Susan?
Let's see if the lag is gonna permit me to look that up. I think the lag has maybe resolved itself. According to the Guild of Messengers, today is July 10th. Cavern Tours scheduled, that's us. Usually there's karaoke at... Okay, Arte's Story Night in Sano's Hood is at 1400. Karaoke party in the new Guild of Messengers pub is at 1600 key time. And then at 23:30 tonight, Arte retells his story once again in Sano's Hood. Sometimes it's the same story and sometimes it's a week off. And then as far as our next tour, it'll be Saturday, August 14th at 11 key time. And with that said, let's all give Larry and Mirfak a big round of applause, shall we? Thank you everyone so much for coming. It's amazing after a year and a half we've still got such a huge group. It's thrilling.
Okay, this looks like it's the end for me because every time I try to link there I wind up falling and get reltoing out.
Oh, you can't PM find Susan and get here okay?
No, I have to get to the age
maybe...
first before I can try
right.
to find you. And
well, why don't you just link to the bot, because I think
I did.
Is down here.
That's what I'm doing.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying, is that it's not, every time I try that, I'm falling.
Yeah, Mirobot, he's in like frozen running mode. Oh, no, that's Mirfak. Mirobot is standing. It looks like
I'm going to try the word.
Mirfak is running out of Mirobot.
I'm trying the word meet instead of link to see if that makes any difference.
We are at the bottom of the Rudena cave.
Oh, okay.
Down where the
down
where the lake is.
Using the word meet worked and link did not for some reason.
Yeah, sometimes link doesn't work. There you are.
Yep.
So we're not near Agura right now, right, Larry?
No. No one knows.
Cavern?
No one knows how the caves are laid out. There's no map that shows it. So we have absolutely no idea at this point exactly where Rudena is. All we know is that it's a different cavern. There we go.
Oh, okay. Mirfak, you pulled it off. That's awesome.
We're still a little high up, so we don't have a clear view of the islands, but we're a lot farther down than we normally are.
Good job, Mirfak. This is great. I've never been this low here before.
I'd like to do something better, but...
Yeah.
Well, this is amazing, though. Really amazing.
I think the one time that's when Stone managed to get us down to lake level, he actually did it, I believe, by porting in either. It may have been Minkata, but then I think that what he actually had to do was actually elevate all of the scenery here in from this model up to the level of where Minkata was, which was an awful lot of work. And say it's amazing he managed to pull it off. If I'm remembering that correctly.
Well, I got a call stack error, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there, but
Yeah. By the way, did you say that story night was 1400 and not 1500?
yes, that's according to the Guild of Messengers keymail.
Okay, the reason being, of course, is that if that's true, then it should be starting.
Well, right now it's only 1300 in the cavern.
Oh, it
It
is?
might be 1400 where you live, but it's 1300.
Oh, that's right.
in the cavern.
I forgot I'm an hour ahead. What am I saying?
Yes.
Okay. No worries
I'm an
then.
hour behind in
Yeah.
California. So I'm going to sign off. Thank you everyone for coming, and we'll see you next month.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Larry. Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Marfak. Really appreciate y'all.
And thanks for coming, Louisa. And at this point, this was the last place that I wanted to show you, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream.